Hello, Cryptonauts, and welcome back to another episode of Cryptocurrency Chat. This is episode 478. We're getting so close to 500, I can almost taste it. Today is January 18th, 2023. My name is Jake Jabarelli, and this is my co-host, Blockchain John. How's it going, John?
Hi everybody, I'm doing good, doing good. Jesus, the week went by so quick. It's ridiculous, man. We're already at Wednesday. It's like, what happened to the past couple days? It's just going by quicker and quicker, man.
Well, I mean, the news never stops for us. Unfortunately, we can jump right into millions of dollars of asset transfer from FTX US.
Want to get it? Yeah, I'll take it. $90 million in FTX US assets were moved via unauthorized transfer after bankruptcy. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, half of the $181 million worth of assets identified by FTX US and the US-based arm Sam Bankman-Fried bankruptcy crypto empire was subject to unauthorized third-party transfers following the bankruptcy filing, according to presentation made to the FTX creditor community today. Yep, that's it right there.
One of the things we talked about, or at least I talked about in the last episode, was the fact that the president of the US division of FTX had a lot of beef with Sam. They never
Uh-huh.
seemed to see very much eye to eye, and there was a lot of ethical commentary going on between the people. But at the same time, this kind of transfers between the two, FTX and FTX US. It seems like it would make sense that there would be transfers going on to balance the books because it's not like on the back end it really matters what happens as long as the front end is clean.
Right, right.
Um, you the restructuring team, as it was noted in the article, said that it had identified $5.5 billion worth of liquid assets, including 1.7 billion in cash and 3.7 billion in crypto.
Mhm.
Um,
Another
but
300 million
right,
liquid assets.
this other 300 million in liquid securities, but the was all the money sitting in FTX US? No, most of it was sitting in FTX, not the US arm of the company. But the US arm of the company was all above board, or at least it would seem so, because the guy who's running it was trying to make it that way. And that, I think, is the reason that he had so much beef with Sam, is because Sam's like, well,
Mm-hmm.
we're not in the US, we're in the Bahamas, so we can do whatever the heck we want.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no. So it's funny because, like I said in the last episode, Harrison, I believe his name is, uh, had made some pretty outlandish commentary on Twitter, and then when he was called out on it, just blocked the people who said that. It's like, okay, I get the impression that your beef with Sam Bankman-Fried is more for show than in the reality, because it's like, if you really didn't like what this guy was telling you, you would have just left. But you didn't leave until the company was indicted, So it kind of speaks to the integrity of the individual when they just kind of don't do anything, even though it's easily within their means to do something different. Like, is it because of the clout that FTX was basically, raining down upon you, and so you're like, oh well, I should just stay here because this is the best job I could have, despite the immorality of it.
What I want to know is who has the $450 million that was hacked from the account in the exchange. That's a lot of money.
I don't
Mm.
know, $450 million or $5.5 billion. I don't know. It's just a lot of money, either regardless. I don't think I've seen a
Mm-hmm.
billion of anything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all right.
Yeah, but it's well, I guess the difference would be a cold wallet versus hot wallet, right? So the majority is in cold wallet. Is that correct? From what I'm
Yeah,
reading
though
here,
that
right?
that was a large chunk of it was cold wallet money. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, per that
But
that.
what's accessible now is $450 million. That's in hot wallet that can be literally like while we're doing this podcast can be swapped out any moment.
Yep. Although,
If they have
if
access
anybody
to it.
does move that kind of money, we're gonna see where it's going. So,
Well, I mean, there's still access to Tornado Cash. Unless you're a U.S. citizen, then you have
actually,
access
there's a
to it.
different one. There's the one that we'll talk about later on with what Lazarus Group was doing. There's a different. I think it's called Railgun. Anyways,
Yes, that's actually been around for a while. Yeah.
let's move on to a debacle within the
Uh,
NFT. Like all NFTs. Well, I feel like it's important to talk about this thing because I'm in favor of NFTs in the positive light, And I don't actually think NFTs are bad. The way they're used can be bad, but I don't think that was the point here for National Geographic. So, the first National Geographic NFT launch meets massive backlash and technical issues. Now, the technical issues are due to what a lot of people probably are saying. Why did you guys go with Snow Crash? Doesn't it just have Crash in the name? Why would you want to go with a company that has Crash in their name? But I mean, it's not a video game like Crash Bandicoot or anything, but it's still Crash. I get that that's probably not what they're going for with the intent of their ideology, but so I think a lot of people were associating this NFT launch with the Trump NFT launch, and a lot of people on National Geographic's social media came back with very, very, very negative responses.
Negative.
So many people just so angry. The best way it's summed up is by Ryan Hawthorne, where he says, "Welcome to the comment section. Here you'll witness a sea of people hating on what they don't understand in their natural habitat."
No. Yeah.
Who is Ryan Hawthorne is a person who has had a great deal of success in with Sotheby's in particular with Ethereum NFTs. Now, these NFTs were launched on Polygon, which I think had something to do. I think some of the problem they were struggling with in this particular failure was not just Snow Crash's fault, but the fact that Polygon was literally in the middle of a transition itself. So that may have just been a poor timing on the part of National Geographic with Snow Crash. Snow Crash billing themselves as some kind of epic company that's like, we know what we're doing. No, you don't, because you wouldn't have decided to do this at the wrong time if you knew what you were doing. So
yeah. So Nat Geo has a massive following with 250 million on Instagram, 49 million on Facebook, and well over 28.6 million on Twitter. Dude, they got a lot of people.
It's been around forever. It's a 135-year-old company. So
Nat Geo is awesome, dude.
Yeah,
Nat Geo stuff is awesome.
I have always loved their magazines when I was a kid. I used to read it.
Yeah, exactly. The people out there that take those photographs are amazing, dude.
Yeah.
Their channel is amazing. I love their stuff.
I was really hoping with this NFT drop that it would literally be based not necessarily on modern content, like the way that they're actually billing this is that they're using their current photographers and putting out. I'm not saying that's bad. I was really hoping they're going to NFT their old issues.
Yeah, exactly.
I honestly think, and this is the reason I feel like some people feel that this NFT thing is kind of BS. Some of them literally commented. Is that they're going about it from the standpoint of, well, we're just going to do this in a short limited run, which is what most NFTs are done with, just to see how this goes. And that's kind of, I feel like what they do. Like, well, we're testing the waters. I wish they'd started it from that standpoint of saying, we're just doing this as a test run to see how it works, and if it works great, we'll go further. But no, they're just kind of starting it. I think it feels more like it's Snow Crash that's leading National Geographic into this more than the National Geographic going, hey, this is a brilliant idea, let's give it a shot.
Yeah, I think if anything would happen with Snow Crash, shoulder bumped Nat Geo says, hey, can we use you guys for an NFT that we're coming out with? It would be really cool to have Nat Geo in the crypto space because the crypto space is growing. So it'd be nice to have you guys on there. No, there's a lot of companies out there that does that. So
they're just buying into the BS of the marketing company. And I'm not saying that all marketing companies are wrong, but like I said before, if National Geographic, even if they just didn't, NFT their actual issues, which they might not want to do, or maybe they just took old images from those issues, right? Assuming they could get the rights to those photos, or maybe they could NFT the articles, really popular articles from really old magazines. Really but stuff. I still say that if they ever decided to really go no holds barred on this and just said, look, we're going to NFT a certain decade, like the 1970s or the 1980s of their issues, and then say people, they could make billions, in my honest opinion. Maybe that sounds like an overestimation of the value, but I mean, National Geographic, like I said, a 135-year-old company. I'm not saying they necessarily have all articles and all the photos from the previous, early, let's say 1890s or 1880s or something. But if they could get stuff from like the 1930s and 1940s, if they have all those magazines, you know,
Mhm.
digitize and make NFTs out of them. They could make so much money, selling
What's
that
surprising?
content.
So Snow Crash already had issues like from the get go, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that should have been resolved and tested is your main honeypot, right? You
Yeah.
want people to connect your wallet, your MetaMask wallet, to your site so they can purchase those NFTs. Period.
Yep.
That's where the money's coming from. They
Yep.
couldn't even figure that out. They
Yep.
screwed that up. You know?
Yep.
It's resolved. It's resolved now, but that shouldn't have been an issue to get to begin with.
Yeah.
Like
If you're
you
doing
want people's
proper
money.
testing when you're rolling this out in the beginning, you're going to know what's going to not work. And if you're going to be, you know, if Snow Crash is a truly professional company, then they would have already done the testing.
I've never heard them before.
Yeah. So,
Till now.
anyways,
Okay, continuing on. Let's go. EU finance ministers says digital euro must offer privacy, and
yes,
I agree.
yes, we definitely agree with that.
The European finance minister have called for the digital euro to offer both privacy and transparency as central bankers begin test of the project this year. The digital euro is being spearheaded by the European Central Bank, with the first idea launched in October 2020 and a more formal investigation into the project rollout in 2021. That is pretty cool. I'm still against CBDCs, and that's pretty much what this is all about, right?
Right. But I
Yeah.
mean, some of the primary points that are made, and this is where we really need to address it. And when Japan's been looking at this with the other, India's looking at it very, very seriously. Obviously, the United States has already commissioned a committee to look into the CBDC ideology, and so they need to ask certain questions. And the things that are being pointed out in this particular article is these statements explicitly. To succeed, the digital euro, were it to exist, should ensure and maintain users' trust, for which privacy is a key dimension and a fundamental right. And at the same time, the Eurogroup is also considered the design of a digital euro should comply with other policy objectives such as preventing money laundering, illicit financing, tax evasion, and ensuring sanctions compliance. Now, it's definitely going to be a CBDC in the sense of it's centralized bank digital currency
Mm-hmm.
if you're going to be able to do those four things or five or six things. In which case they're looking at it more. A CBDC was more specifically a very much a not the all the benefits to blockchain, just the ones that fit their needs. And
Yep.
so, in this sense, the way that the European finance ministers are talking about this, or the EU finance ministers, they're actually talking about it more in a open, how am I supposed to say it? Not open sense, a less confined sense of what a CBDC would be. They're like, we don't want people to get screwed with our CBDC, right? The very things that you, John, and I are worried about the United States doing a CBDC for is what the European finance ministers don't seem to be most concerned with themselves. So it's like they're on board with what we want. And that's why I think that what the questions they're asking here, can we do these explicit things that I just listed, are so incredibly important. Because they're looking at CBDC more from the standpoint of fairness than just an alternative to fiat.
What's interesting is that they already got 5 companies prototyping the CBDCs. They got
It's Amazon too.
interesting, interesting. I know, I saw that. Yeah, yeah. Kaixa Bank, Worldline, EPI, Nexi, and Amazon. Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's cool that Amazon's part of that list, only because they're everywhere, right? I'm still anti CBDC. I say stick with Bitcoin. I don't understand why people just don't just make Bitcoin part of their global
Well, think of
their
it this way.
national currency.
I'm trying to pitch, playing devil's advocate here, the utility of a CBDC in the future, assuming that the CBDC itself has properties similar to Bitcoin currently. in that right now the transfer. Why do people invent the USDT? Even though we have dollars, right? It's because USDT is a better analog to the US dollar than the US dollar itself. So a CBDC will, in that same kind of sense, lend itself to faster transactions between countries. Honestly, I can see that if every major country, not just the United States, but let's say European Union, China, Russia, Australia, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, well, let's say they all went to a CBDC of their own. It would make the transfer between currencies that much more fluid. Right now, the fluidness is still done on a fiat basis. The fiat basis is much slower. Even though there's a digital version of it, it's still much slower. It would give one explicit autonomy to every country. They wouldn't be dependent upon the US dollar anymore, which I think is a very good thing. But it would also lend it the possibility to a much more fluid interaction between currencies that just doesn't exist today. And so I'm arguing for CBDCs for the potentials of making the world market more fluid than it currently is, and less dependent upon the United States explicitly.
Why not just use a stablecoin?
Because I don't want the stablecoin to be U.S. based. I don't want the stablecoin to be based on the U.S. dollar. I want the stablecoin to be based on that country's coin as it currently stands. And if
based off their GDP.
Yes, based off their GDP, their gross domestic product. Obviously, plenty of countries, Venezuela and Greece, and come to mind first. Is that their gross domestic product is based heavily on one export, Venezuela in particular. And so where that export goes, so goes the entire economy, and that's the value of their CBDC could drop drastically. But what I'm saying is the point of with liquidity of a CBDC in a country, if they all had them, if every country just had a digital currency, what was their digital analog, then trade between one digital currency of a country and another digital currency of another country would be much more fluid. If you follow what I'm saying.
So let me try to piggyback off of that. Off of the idea for international trades, nation to nation, on that level, I can see that working. Being for person, peer to peer, I am totally against that. I don't want CBDCs to be for the
right. But see, CBDCs are just one form of currency. We already know this. That despite the fact that only a couple of countries in the world have accepted Bitcoin as a currency within their country, Bitcoin still exists everywhere. So you don't have to use the CBDC, or maybe the country would force you to. But at the same time, Bitcoin's not going away, right? So. It may be difficult to exchange. It might be difficult to exchange a CBDC in the country for Bitcoin, but that doesn't mean you can't use Bitcoin.
Right. I'm not going to disagree with you that CBDCs are going to come to fruition in pretty much every single nation. That's inevitable. It's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still anti-CBDC.
Okay. I think there are benefits to it, despite the fact that there are obvious, or at least obvious to you and I, detriments to it. So let's move on to something worse than a CBDC.
Lazarus Group. Actually, I think this is yours. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that's fine. So the Lazarus Group moves 41,000 Ethereum that they stole from Harmony, the bridge hack, 6 months ago, 9 months ago, back in March of last year. And CC, or Changpeng Zhao, has been attempting to stop this through Huobi's Binance partnership. So if you don't already know, North Korea-linked cybercrime syndicate group, otherwise known as Lazarus Group, apparently transferred $63.5 million in Ethereum from the 2022 Mammoth Harmony bridge hack, depositing it on Binance and Huobi and OKX, where, of course, those people can control that to some degree. Everyone's favorite on-chain sleuth, Zach XBT, has been tracking all this information and posting it to Twitter. And apparently, like the Tornado Cash has now been banned by the U.S., they were using a system called Railgun, which is pretty much the same concept. It's not identical to the Tornado Cash, but it's very similar in the sense that it is trying to obfuscate the deposits and retractions of all Ethereum, basically, ins and outs, right? So that it's not as obvious where the money's going. Although you could say that as a whole, money is going in a large sum, and money is also going out in a large sum, just in multiple other accounts. And since computers aren't dumb, they can track the mass in and the mass out, even if it's one mass in and a million mass outs. So I'm just going to read Zach XBT's second post here. North Korea's Lazarus Group has had a very busy weekend moving this large sum of money from the Harmony Bridge hack through the Railgun before consolidating the funds and depositing them on 3 different exchanges. So he has an actual visualization of exactly what happened.
Well, that's what they specifically say. If you're going to hack, or if you want to stay private, don't ever use a larger sum than what the average is in that.
In that exchange.
In that, what is it? Exchange? In that. You want to use
platform.
What the average is. It's a mixer. So if, say for example, for Bitcoin, for example, I think it's. I was reading a book. They said on average, you want to use 0.1 Bitcoin. So if you have 10 Bitcoin, you gotta throw those transactions.
Yeah, break it up into 100 pieces, right?
Yep.
That's generally true. Like I say, when Elon Musk bought his massive amount of crypto, for use in Tesla, they didn't buy it all and we're just going to buy $600 million in Bitcoin. No, they didn't buy it that way. They bought it in multiple hundreds of thousands of smaller pieces, and through multiple different brokers. So.
Do you think he bought more during the dip?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I'm sure Michael Saylor did. Anyway, so I'm going to read CZ from Binance, his tweet here. We detected Harmony One hacker fund movement. They previously tried to launder it through Binance, and we froze his accounts. This time, he used Huobi. We assisted Huobi's team to freeze his accounts. Together, 124 Bitcoin have been recovered. CFI, centralized finance, helping to keep DeFi safe. Yes, there is some level of control within centralized exchanges.
I applaud you, CZ. It's a good job. Good job to your team.
Yeah.
Good job to the team, man. Screw you, CZ. No, seriously, the guys, the folks over at Binance, they don't mess around, man. This is an excellent job right here. You got to give them a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, it's good to see that it's still a little odd. When 41,000 Ethereum is no small amount of Ethereum, but it seems strange. Now, it might just be the problem with moving hundreds of millions of dollars in coin is how do you move it without people seeing you move it, right?
Exactly.
The worm concept seems to work way better here than just stealing a gargantuan sum of coins.
And I think that's going back to the first article. I think that's the reason why the FTX hack funds have not been moved as of now, because they don't know how to do it. They don't know what to do. Or should I say SBF doesn't know what to do with those coins?
What was the name of the dynamic duo couple, the white girl and the Ukrainian guy, who supposedly stole a gargantuan sum of crypto several years ago, and then they tried to spend it. And by the time that they started spending it, it was like worth nearly $5 billion. And it was so glaringly obvious that what they were doing with it, it's like, well, this is the problem with robbing the train, right? When you take a gargantuan, I'm referencing 1800s or 19th century train robbery, but where are you going to spend all that gold? Where are you going to spend all that coin? You have this massive amount of money, and it's all in one place, how do you get rid of it? How do you exchange it for the things that you want and not have people recognize that it's obviously stolen funds? So, I mean, if I'm not saying that hackers are smart, they certainly aren't, but it's ironic how dumb the people are hosting the coin are. Harmony, I'm not saying it's just one person, but
I think it's just greed and just being what's the word? Uh, Not being patient. Not
oh
being
yeah, no,
patient
it's
enough
definitely
to,
impatience. You're absolutely right. But I mean, almost all
impatience.
crime is crime of opportunity. So
You know,
criminals
they
aren't
could've
really
taken
smart because
They could have taken
we wouldn't even know about them if they were
do
smart.
do smaller transactions through mixers and slowly and I've seen people do this successfully. I was reading a book about that where the way to do it is send the funds in smaller increments to the mixer and then distribute those every single one of those transactions to separate wallets, every single one of them.
Yep.
They never touch each other,
Yep.
and then from there you swap
And
it back into the
this
mixer.
is the
You
point I'm
do
trying to make is that the stupid hacker or the stupid criminal won't do things in an intelligent way that would not bring on notice, right? The smart criminal, you don't really hear about them because they're smart.
Yeah.
So,
Rinse and repeat, man. Rinse and repeat.
anyways,
Satoshi's there.
yeah. So, just a minor little note here at the next news article about how Ethereum is changing, and this is a good thing. So, Ethereum hits 500,000 validators ahead of scheduled Shanghai upgrade. That's a lot. Remember, one validator requires 32 Ethereum, which is currently worth 50 grand. So what's half a million times 50 grand? Was it 2.5 million or is it 25 billion? Excuse me. That's immense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too much. There's too many numbers for me.
Is it 2 billion? I'm
much
even
money.
wrong about this. Let me just do the numbers here on screen
Do the
here.
numbers.
Times 50,000. 25 billion. Okay. So I was wrong
Wow.
about $25 billion. So, currently $25 billion worth of validators are currently set up for this pre-upgrade. But the reason that this is so exciting, right, is that with Shanghai in March, I think it's a funny name to use for this, being Shanghaied, is that people who have staked their ETH through Steth, Steth, can finally remove it. And we were talking about this pre-show, and that the people who are going to finally be pulling their Steth out into ETH and maybe possibly back to whatever coin they use to buy stuff with, is going to be possibly tanking the price of Ethereum. Although John's pretty sure it's not going to go below $1,000 US.
Yeah, that's my prediction. I doubt it'll go below 1,000. Yeah, because it's perfect timing because the way that the market's going, it's going up, right? So overall, I think it just looks like it's gonna dip slightly, but not enough to be like, oh my god, I get to buy these, for just a couple $100. No, I don't see that happening.
No, I don't think it'll ever go back to 40 cents.
No, and on top of that, there's actually not that much coins staked. Yeah, it sounds like a lot, but it's really not that much in comparison to what's already out there.
No, you're right. That's the total sum of value of all of it. But still, I mean, what if we look at
If I
you look at CoinGecko
like
right now? What does CoinGecko say the current total market cap of Ethereum is 184 billion, right? So I guess it's roughly 7 times, a little bit more than 7 times the total amount of staked ETH. That's total available. Because remember, we've said this before. Just because there's the price of something is high does not necessarily mean there's a lot of liquidity in it. In fact, this is point and purpose about Bitcoin itself. There's not a lot of Bitcoin available out there. Most people are just hodling it constantly. And the reason that the price is so effectively high is because there's, not a lot of people are moving it. You can only buy what's available.
all in my cold wallet.
Yeah. So Bitcoin is mostly hodled, and what little is there for trade, that's what's worth $20,800 current price. So yeah, there's going to be a change, and a lot of people are going to pull their staked ETH out and do whatever they're going to do with it. Finally, after 6 months of waiting, well, it's been longer than that. Depends on when you staked it. I staked some staked ETH over a year ago, so
I wonder why they did this. Why did they cap it at 42,000 ETH per day? Just so it doesn't like just tank down, like it doesn't
probably
run or
it's the same
okay.
problem that we're talking about with when there's a run on the bank. When the bank closes, they don't want that to happen.
Uh, this is this 42,000 ETH per person or
Per day.
42,000
No, it says per day.
43? So just the entire contract, if you don't take yours out within that round of 43,200 ETH in that day, out of the staked ETH, then you have to wait until the next day.
Next 24-hour period, but yeah.
Ah, snaps. So wow, oof. Yeah. Well, that's a good way to do it.
Well, you think about it. How much is 43,200 ETH? It's actually more ETH than was the total amount of ETH that was just moved by the Lazarus Group.
Yeah. But I'm thinking in regards to like tanking the price. So there's no way you're gonna be able to tank the price with just that amount of ETH being withdrawn.
We'll see. We'll see. Stranger things have happened.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
So,
Yeah.
finally,
All right.
and lastly here,
What have we got? Crypto panics. Then jeers at DOJ announcement of major action against tiny Chinese exchange Bitlasso. This was quite interesting. I did hear this earlier. That so the DOJ came out earlier today, started threatening people, or started basically with the press release saying, "Hey, we're going to be cracking down on a pretty big crypto exchange." Everybody freaked out.
yep.
Everybody freaked out.
And
This
we noticed
happened
the
earlier.
price dropped sharply. I don't know if you guys saw that in the
Yep.
news, but it's just like
Yep.
everything went
And
down
that's
like
the reason. So yeah, so the DOJ came out like a big old bully. Says we got some big news. We're not messing around. We're cracking down on exchange. So there's a lot of rumors that it was gonna be. Is it Binance? It's got to be Coinbase. It's got to be. It's got
I
to
was
be.
I was expecting them to say,
Crypto.com.
"We're launching our NFT line." Big news, right?
Yeah. So
DOG's
anyways,
NFT line.
so what ended up happening was they ended up cracking down on a crypto exchange that I've never heard of, Bitlasso. What is Bitlasso? That's the question. I've never heard of. Have you heard of it?
I had not heard of it until I read this article. So Bits Lotto or whatever,
It's
this
Bitlasso.
odd
Yeah,
odd,
yeah.
odd
A
named.
Hong Kong-based cryptocurrency exchange. Founder Russian. So yeah, so Russian national and Anatoly, how do you say it? Legkondevmov. Yeah, nicknamed Gandalf. Okay, so he was
No,
arrested in Miami last night. Basically, what happened was he was, he was washing money, man. He was, what was it? Yeah, for I think it was for the Russians, if I'm not mistaken, from what I heard earlier. Yeah, it says right here if oh, let's go here. Relative size of crypto exchange is minuscule. According to analytics firm Arkham, the Chinese exchange at its peak held no more than $6 million in funds. So it's not a big deal. So I don't even know why the DOJ even came down, made like a big noise, because they ended up, to be honest, that's the main trigger why the market crashed today. By where we at? Down 3.6%.
yep.
That's interesting that the DOJ. I've never seen an entity recently make the market crash like that by coming out with a statement. No, the last time I saw something like this was literally years ago when the Chinese like, we're banning Bitcoin, and then you see the market crash. Oh, that's quite interesting that the DOJ still has that type of power to just come out. It's like, yeah, we got some
At
news. We
least
got
th're
some
not
bad news for the
malicious.
crypto.
At least
Yeah, yeah.
they're not
I
doing
think it
it
was just
just to screw with the
misinterpretation.
market. But it is
Yeah, it was
interesting.
just.
You're right. It is interesting to see that the world's most powerful
I think.
country's Department of Justice could come out with a statement about crypto and cause crypto to tank. I would expect it of Anthony Scaramucci or some other venture capitalist, but not the DOJ.
Yeah, I think this is proof that this is a fake bull. That people are not confident that the price is running up. because something like this just made the market crash. So I personally have some trigger buys at a lower price right now. Not financial advice. This is just what I'm doing. Seeing that the price is coming back down, and it wouldn't surprise me. There's some news coming out tomorrow about. Well, I think this is actually going to make the price go up. It's not one of our news articles, but what is it? The budget, the government budget's going up. Most likely again tomorrow, right? Because it expires. Our contract
Right.
expires.
Right.
So that's going to be going up again. We're gonna raise the roof, and what that's going to do is obviously devalue the dollar, but bring more confidence and power to Bitcoin, another crypto, which is amazing. I love that. That's I'm hyped about that. It's sad to see the national currency go down, but the birth of Bitcoin is literally the death of the dollar. Unfortunately, that's the reality of what happened when Satoshi Nakamoto brought that in. There was a revelation there. There was, a revelation like like the Wizard of Oz, right? The curtain was opened up, right?
Right.
That's exactly what happened. So it's going to continue on for years and years down the road, and just the American dollar, the power of the dollar is going to keep going down. And in my opinion, this is what I'm doing. I am hodling Bitcoin and other crypto because I believe it's going to be worth more and have more utility and more power when it comes to
Well,
purchasing power.
based on
compared to
the
dollar.
way that the simple I don't know what the term is they use to describe it, but simple analysis, simple technical analysis of
Mhm.
Bitcoin predicts, not explicitly or exactly, but pretty close to saying that in sometime in 2025, the price of Bitcoin based on the previous two peaks will hit 180,000 US dollars. So a lot of people, mostly just people with a gargantuan sum of Bitcoin in their pocket, um, like Tim Draper and the Winklevoss twins, and probably Elon, although I haven't seen much of his tweeting about it lately, are all saying that the price is going to hit somewhere between 180 and 250,000 by the end of 2025. They also said it was going to hit by the end of 2022, and that did not happen. So um, it seems like the natural prediction of the next happening, but no one can predict the future. Believe you me, if I was looking into my crystal ball of the future, I wouldn't be looking at 2025. I'd be looking at 3025. Where is everything going eventually? Not right now. So with that,
Hold on. I just wanted to say these tweets in that last article are hilarious. I don't know if you showed that on screen.
yeah, I
They're
did.
hilarious.
Yep, they're
Yeah.
pretty funny.
That last one from CZ, he's straight up on point right there. We'll try to keep 2023 simple. Spend more time on less things. Do's and don'ts.
Right,
1,
right.
education. 2,
Yes.
compliance. 3, products and service. 4, ignore FUD, fake news, attacks, etc. And that's a good way to end it.
Yep. Tweet number 4: ignore the FUD and ignore the FOMO because it's never going to get you anywhere. So with that, we'll say thanks for all for watching. If you could give us, at the bare minimum, just a thumbs up or a like, or wherever you're receiving our content, we'd appreciate it. Check out our coin tree. It's very easy to get to. cointr.ee/C3 media. We'll get you the links to all of the donation that you can donate to us. We've had people donate recently. We really appreciate that. You can also check us out on Discord. Of course, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Spotify, Anchor, Podcast, and there's various other places you can donate. At the end of the show, we always say, stack sats
Text that
and hodl.
and huddle.
Adios.
Adios.